rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I got to warm up my singing voice. I've been told I have someone to sing to at the end of the program. So, yeah, I got to remind myself. I do have a reminder up on my screen here, one of my screens. You know, for those of you that don't know, I actually have 4 screens up. This one over here that's on this side. This one over here watches the chat and also the feed going out. And then this one over here has some things on it and also another chat. And then down here, I have all of the different feeds going on. And then over here on this bottom side over here, I've got the stuff that I show you guys on all of, you know, it's all lined up and ready to go. So, yeah, one of these days I'll give you a tour, a video tour of it. But anyway, yeah. So there you go. Also have a special picture shout out to provide to them. Yeah, I could show you all the screens. That would be nice. I don't have a camera that could go ahead and do that yet, 3 Chevy, but I will one of these days. You guys have kind of seen them. I've done photos getting ready to go live and stuff in the past, trying to garner attention to everything that I do here. But I should one of these days I should show you guys. I should take you on a quick tour. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that Monday. Anyway. All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off with tonight's broadcast. I believe, if I recall correctly, I think it's 3 Chevy that is up for tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. So, if you are of mind, please stand, remove your hats if you're wearing one like me, and follow along with 3 Chevy. Well, place your hand over your heart and follow along with 3 Chevy as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, 3 Chevy, for supplying us with that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing or reciting the pledge in your style. Then take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. Then address that email to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. And tonight's headline sponsor is none other than the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, iotc.americanperspective.online, to sign up. And while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.americanperspective.online to get great content, to learn about our historical founding, and support the show in the process. That's iotc.americanperspective.online. Or if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution.americanperspective.online. Take a look at this wonderful thing. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. It is stitched all the way through the leather and the pages contained within. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if something does happen in that time frame, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. According to 3 Chevy, each purchase of the aforementioned book will cause a liberal to develop hemorrhoids. Ouch. That hurts. And of course, Bonnie reminds me that it has sexy rounded corners, and Buddy Weiser says this document repels Democrats upon contact. Speaking of Buddy, it is Buddy tested, Buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. My youngest whiskey warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you to pass your civics badge in Scouts, and probably even your civics exam if you wanted to, if you have one, if you're taking one. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours today. Yes, G says stitching. Yes, it does have stitching. Fantastic stitching. If you haven't gotten yours, I'm going to tell you it's a nice pocket size, and they don't poke, or because those corners are thick and rounded. But you should go and check it out and get yours today. Go to constitution.americanperspective.online and carry it around with you all the time so you can whip it out. I'm talking about the book. Whip it out and show off all of your friends and neighbors. The Republican conservatives, they'll be happy that you have it. The leftists will run because it's their kryptonite. Anyway, go to constitution.americanperspective.online and get yours today. Also, check out the rest of the Institute on the Constitution's offerings, and I appreciate them for allowing me to be a brand affiliate, for sure. All right. Tonight. Well, I know I've been on a bourbon kick. I've been a long time bourbon lineup for the most part. Yeah. I made one mention of whipping it out, and next thing you know, the Rumble chat goes crazy. And they are definitely, let's see, where is this? Yeah, and definitely going nuts. That's right. The chat is nuts for all of this. But anyway, so there we go. Let's go ahead and talk about this alcohol that I have in my hand. And yes, I do know it's storybook time. I'm getting there. But I've been doing bourbon for quite some time, and my wife, Mrs. Whiskey, of course, she went and purchased this bottle for me. It's not a bourbon, because as you know, I started this show and I was an Irish whiskey fan, still am. But she bought this bottle for me, thinking that I would appreciate maybe a change. This was a while ago. It's been sitting on the shelf. It actually started to collect some dust on the shelf, and so she got it for me. It's from a company called Trader Joe's, which if you're not from the Northwest, I don't think they have Trader Joe's anywhere else. But if you're not from the Northwest, Trader Joe's is sort of an eclectic little grocery store chain that does a lot of their own private label, private branded stuff. And so tonight I am drinking Trader Joe's Special Reserve Irish Whiskey, just cracked this morning. Actually, not even this morning, just about half an hour ago, to put it into one of the best gifts that I have ever received from, I guess Trader Joe's is everywhere else, because I'm seeing my Florida contingent saying we have them. But anyway, one of the best gifts that I have ever received. This is the American Perspective whiskey glass from my wonderful Whiskey Warrior P1s. They sent me a pair. This one and the other one is It Takes Stones to Drink Whiskey, but this one is the American Perspective logo on the glass, and this is fantastic. Oh, I'm being told they're also in Kentucky. All right. And there is the Stones, of course, the requisite Stones in there. So here we go with the requisite first sip. Interesting. I was expecting a bit more of a kick out of it. It's awfully smooth. So, I think I'm all right. Well, that one's easy sipping, that's for sure. All right. Let's go ahead and get the first things first out of the gate. Let's go ahead and get the first segment over out and over, which is On This Day in American History. And of course, for On This Day in American History, we read from the American Patriots Almanac, written by William J. Bennett and John T.E. Cribb, chock full with all kinds of factoids and information about this wonderful country that we call home. Okay, so apparently I am wrong. Trader Joe's is everywhere. I'm getting told that it's they have Trader Joe's in South Carolina. They have them in Florida. They have them in Kentucky. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. All right. Tonight we're going to be talking about the birth of the FBI. During President Theodore Roosevelt's administration, Attorney General Charles Bonaparte decided he needed a squad of investigators to handle a rising tide of crime and corruption. Bonaparte, grandnephew of Napoleon Bonaparte, appointed 9 former Secret Service agents and 25 of his own men to form a special agent force. On July 26, 1908, he ordered the new force to begin conducting investigations for the Department of Justice. It was the birth of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Everybody knows it as the FBI. One of the agent's early assignments was to help stop the white slave trade that trafficked women into prostitution houses. After World War I, the relentless G-men, which is an abbreviation for government men, began chasing down gangsters like John Dillinger, Al Capone, and Babyface Nelson. The FBI's famous 10 Most Wanted list began in 1950 after a reporter looking for a story idea asked the Bureau for information about the 10 toughest guys it would like to catch. The stories generated so much interest that the FBI decided to make the list permanent. More than 150 of the 10 most wanted fugitives have been captured with the public's help. Today, the FBI numbers more than 13,000 special agents and 19,000 analysts, scientists, and other personnel. They work across the globe with headquarters in Washington, D.C., 56 U.S. field offices, and more than 60 international offices in United States embassies. Agents investigate crimes ranging from civil rights violations to cyber attacks. In recent years, they have helped prevent scores of terrorist attacks. The list of FBI heroes is long. It includes men and women like Special Agent Leonard Hatton, a bomb specialist who was on his way to New York City on September 11th, 2001, when he saw smoke rising from the World Trade Center. He ran to the scene to help others escape. And when the towers collapsed, he died beneath them. The motto of the FBI is fidelity, bravery, integrity. And that is tonight's On This Day in American History. Now, it's kind of apropos, I guess, that we had that. And no, I didn't actually look it up. Usually I only look it up like a few minutes before I go in the air, because obviously it's a dated book. But it's things like this, like these, you can call them coincidences if you want, but it's things like this that make you kind of want to sit there and go, Tonight's topic, of course, is, I've got a variety of different stories here, but one of the main ones where the title comes from was a post by Dan Bongino. He posted something on X, and I want to talk about it, but we'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. First, I want to do a little show and tell. Before I do this, sorry, that was my first story that I'm going to hit, but I do want to do a little show and tell before I throw this out. So one of my Whiskey Warrior P1s was running around with her very, very special son. He's special to us. He's obviously special to her, but he's special to us. He's one of our favorites. That family actually is one of our favorites that recites the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, apparently they were out at the last parade of what's known as Frontier Days in their local community. And, well, they were running around with none other than a Whiskey, Musings, and American Perspective signature hat. Please welcome, in photo, Coco and Sean. They sent me this photo. They're right in front of one of their big boots. Apparently, they have many of those around in the area, and this is a Western Western themed kind of place, let's say. But anyway, they were wearing their signature hats, and you can barely see it. Realistically, you can just barely see it, but right up in the top, and I'm going to zoom in here and try and you can see the old Whiskey Musings logo right there. There it is, right there on Coco's hat. She went and sewed it on, I guess, put it on there, so. There it is, the old Whiskey Musings patch. I sent a few of them out, or actually I should say Mrs. Whiskey sent a few of them out. So there you go. There's Coco and Sean enjoying their sunny day with their Whiskey Musing / American Perspective hat, signature hat, on at Frontier Days in front of a big boot. I love seeing these. We used to have tried to get something kicked off. Where's Whiskey? Kind of like the Where's Waldo. That didn't really go too far. We had a couple submissions, but nobody else has really popped in. Maybe I'll get a surprise here and there. But anyway, I love seeing photos like this, of getting pictures and things like that of where my gear, whether it's a shirt or a hat or even the button or the pin, the button or the patch is also running around as well. I love it when I see those, so I like to present them when I can for that. All right, let's go to the first story of the day, which, of course, is there is another big court win for Trump. Trump seems to be racking up a few of these things, and it's sort of stymieing the left. But anyway, a big court win for Trump as a judge goes ahead and dismisses a case regarding the USAID on jurisdictional grounds. This guy actually, this judge, I should say, and I think it's a male judge, but this judge in particular actually understands the Constitution and realizes that, hey, I am not all powerful, because he went ahead and kicked out this court case because of the fact that he does not have jurisdiction to do any of this. So Friday, which was yesterday, of course, the administration scored a significant win in 2 companion cases involving the dismantling of the USAID, or the United States Agency for International Development, which, again, I'm still challenging anybody who can look into the Constitution and tell me where that is as a part of Article 1, Section 8. However, all of that being said, D.C. District Court Judge Carl Nichols went ahead and said, well, yeah, I don't really have the authority to do this. Now, what happened here was both the American Foreign Services Association and the Personnel Services Contractor Association sued the administration in February over Executive Order 14169, which was reevaluating and realigning United States foreign aid, and asserting that the executive action violates the Separation of Powers and the Administrative Procedures Act, and they were seeking injunction relief. Now, Judge Nichols initially granted the AFSA motion for a TRO, a temporary restraining order, in part, but shortly thereafter denied it, and later denied their motion for a preliminary injunction. In March, he then denied the PSCA's TRO motion as well. In the Friday ruling, Judge Nichols denied the plaintiff's motions for summary judgment, which summary judgment, for those that don't know, it's basically a request for him to enter judgment in their favor based on the merits of the case. And he denied that. His reasoning in both was that he and the court actually lacks proper jurisdiction over the claims that where they're out there before him. So in other words, he actually has read the Constitution and understands that the lower courts don't have the capability to block a presidential action. Surprise, surprise. I didn't realize that there was a judge that actually knew that. But anyway, in other words, essentially, he exercised judicial restraint, this coming from the Red State article that I'm getting this from. So the court ultimately cannot reach the merits of any plaintiff's allegations. However, it concludes that it lacks jurisdiction over these claims of AFSA, AFGE, and Oxfam, which have moved for summary judgment after the court denied their earlier motion for a preliminary injunction. And then he continues and says that it likely lacks jurisdiction over the claims of the PSCA, which has also moved for a preliminary injunction. He goes, the court will accordingly grant the government's motion to dismiss the AFSA and will deny the PSCA's motion for a preliminary injunction. So, the court explained at length that denying the preliminary injunction that for the AFSA, AFGE, which are the representatives for the USAID employees, he basically was denying the preliminary injunction, the Civil Service Reform Act, Federal Service Labor Management Relations Statute, and the Foreign Service Act likely channel their members' claims to various agencies and provide for subsequent review in specific for Article 3 courts. So anyway, yeah. There you go. We finally have a judge who's actually read the Constitution and understands that lower courts created by Congress cannot have the power to do what the Constitution does not provide for them, nor does Congress provide for that, because Congress does not have the power to necessarily block a presidential executive order due to the separation of powers. So, yeah. It's about damn time one of these judges actually has woken up to this. So now, unfortunately, this is a larger. This particular case has, or these two cases have larger implications. So one of them, the reason this is key is because many other cases against the Trump administration may raise similar claims, and the holding of no jurisdiction would also bar those claims as well. So once appealed, provided that it does, okay, once appealed, the circuit court's precedent will bind the other district D.C. courts and will be persuasive in other cases. They also, this person, Margot Cleveland, describes it and says, also, if the disputes continue, SCOTUS will have to resolve, which will then, of course, bind all lower courts. Now, see, this is part of the problem that we have with that SCOTUS decision. SCOTUS soft-pedaled the decision and said, yeah, we kind of think that maybe you don't have these powers. And that's the problem. They said, maybe. They should have just come out and said, look, Congress did not provide you that power. Congress can't provide you that power because that is a separation of powers power that we, meaning SCOTUS, is the only one that can hold that. Anyone that reads the Constitution actually understands this, is because it would have recognized immediately that the lower district courts that are created by Congress does not have the power to provide the power to something that it creates that it itself does not have. We already know this. I mean, why this is such a surprise to anybody who, on the left who hasn't even actually read the Constitution nor understands it? Yeah, that's really surprising. That's not surprising at all. I'm just going to put it out there. Anyway, yeah. This ruling is basically going to help set things up for other potential stuff to go along. So, anyway, so there we go. All right. Well, I noticed that there's somebody special in the chat, so I'm going to break from tradition. Usually I wait until the very end, but considering the fact that I need to avoid my sometimers disease and my mistakes, I'm going to go ahead and take care of this right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, there is a wonderful young woman who is in the chat right now. She is the daughter of one of my longtime Whiskey Warrior P1s, and not like I necessarily just do this for Whiskey Warrior P1s, because I'll do it to anybody or for anybody. It's kind of become a little bit of a tradition. And ironically, my Whiskey Warrior P1s seem to think that I at least can sing well enough that I can carry a tune. So anyway, I have a special request for doing this tonight because this young lady has a birthday, actually for tomorrow, but I don't transmit tomorrow, so obviously we got to put it all together here. And I'm sort of like dragging this out because I know they're going to, or hopefully they're going to get the mother of this young lady so that at least everybody can all get together. And the only reason why I'm deciding to do this now too is because they are actually at a party and I don't want them to kind of, wait around if they want to leave. Family time is very important for anyone. It really should be. And I know that their being here is actually a treat for me, not so much for them. Any of my listeners and guests and so on and so forth. I mean, your time is valuable. And the fact that you're even giving me that time is basically, one of those things that I definitely that I definitely want to make sure that I am cognizant of. So therefore, I am going to go and do this. Bam's daughter Z is turning another year older, and because I'm going to be respectful to the young lady, I'm not going to say how old she is. Although she's early enough. She's early enough that I could probably get away with it, but I'm still not going to do that. But just for you, Bam's daughter Z, happy birthday to you, and let's go ahead and get this singing done. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bam's daughter Z. Happy birthday to you, and many more. Hopefully you have a really happy birthday, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. That is incredible. So, all right, get on with your festivities, and I'll get on with mine. Happy birthday, Z, and enjoy it. Enjoy it for sure. All right. Let's get back into the dirt and the weeds. Speaking of dirt and weeds, do you remember that fabulous, just fantastic dress that AOC like flaunted? She went to a gala. The gala was Tax the Rich. It was the Met Gala. She had this dress on that was white with red letters, and it says Tax the Rich on it. Do you remember how much screen time that got? Because, I mean, AOC was like, so fresh, so face, and popular at the time and everything else. Well, yeah, guess what? She is going to have to pay for part of that. The ethics committee ruled that her gown, the Tax the Rich gown, and her and the accessories that she brought, and this is because of the fact that she actually, according to them, skirted house ethics rules by accepting over thousands of dollars in gifts. That she now, at her 2021 Met Gala appearance, she now has been ordered to pay $2,700 to resolve the matter. This is a newly released statement and report from yesterday from the House Committee on Ethics. She was accused in an ethics complaint of accepting impermissible gifts associated with her attendance at that gala in 2021, in which she appeared in a super cringe dress. So, yeah, here's the dress. And there she is, in the dress. Tax the Rich, with the being on one of her butt cheeks, But anyway, and of course, that was like the big thing. If you're watching it on video, you'll see she turned around so that everybody could see it. And of course, take photographs of her rear end. But anyway, so according to the committee's findings, the socialist darling of the Resistance Party paid less than $1,000 for the sum of her outfit at the gala, when in reality it was valued at well over $3,000. And the math didn't, of course, math when the designer dress, along with the luxury shoes, jewelry, a floral hairpiece, and handbag, determined to cost $3,724.04 at what was considered to be fair market value. So AOC's campaign initially stiffed some of the vendors for these products, according to the New York Post, before finally relenting and paying a modest sum of $990 well below the actual cost of the dress. The difference in $2,733.28 will now have to be forked over, according to the committee report. Oh, and here is an image of what this looks like an Excel spreadsheet, but this basically looks like what they put on their tracking. Here, let me get it a little closer so you guys can see this. On her tracking, this is what they say, quote unquote, that she paid. So she has to now pay up the difference. She now has to pay up the difference. Oh my gosh. These people, I'm telling you. Yeah, this with Schiff and his mortgage debacle, mortgage fraud possibility. Also, too, by the way, that, we still have Letitia James and her mortgage debacle that's still being potentially litigated. I don't know if it's even gotten to that point yet, but anyway, is there any of these people, anybody can tell me that any of these people are actually on the above and above board and up when it comes to this stuff? I mean, seriously, when AOC went into Congress, became a representative, she was being paid $174,000 a year. That's the starting salary for a first-year freshman representative. And all of a sudden, her net worth jumped from like zero up to $10 million or something like that. I mean, seriously. And they wonder why people, I'm sorry, but this is the kind of stuff that talks, when you talk about corruption, it's stuff like this that pretty much okay, I'm not going to absolve the Republicans at all because I'm sure that they have their things too. Okay, but seriously though, all of this stuff is just the benefits that they get by being public servants. As Harry Truman once said, show me a politician who's become rich and I'll show you a crook. And so, this is, come on. This is ridiculous. Seriously. How many more of these people? Oh, I can't forget Cori Bush and her paying her, I don't know if it was ex-husband or actual husband, the security fees and all that other stuff. I mean, there are so many freaking loopholes that these people go through in order to keep their money and everything else. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm a rule follower. I'm a stickler for the rules. I'm a stickler for the law. It's just in my nature. It's in my makeup. It's what I've always done because literally I can't get away from it. And so to sit here and see these people doing this stuff, getting away with these kinds of things is really frustrating for me. To be completely honest, it's frustrating for me. Because I want these people, you're on the taxpayer's dole. You should be trying to save money, not spend it. Anyway, well, just add her to the list of corrupt people again in government. That's just how it is. Speaking of corruption in government, the Dems have decided to open up a war. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but Texas is redistricting. They are attempting to redistrict some of their congressional districts. They're to redraw the lines. Many people call it gerrymandering. But essentially what it is just trying to get more Republican districts in the case of Texas. And in the case of California, who threatened because Texas is redistricting. Now, keep in mind, this isn't just something arbitrary that they were forced to do. It was because of a census debacle that happened back in 2020. And that correction is now coming to fruition. The next census is in 2030. So for those of you that may not have caught up yet, the census in 2020 had some errors that were caught by an audit. Things that actually cost some states, like Texas, some rightfully earned House seats. For those of you that don't understand, the way that this works is every 10 years, we have a census. That census is what is utilized for the next 10 years until the next census in order to do things such as appropriating government funding and figuring out how many representatives are going to represent the state. Now, keep in mind, there are 435, and that's the limit. That's all there is. Okay, according to the Constitution, it's 435. And so what ends up happening is, out of those 435, they go through and they divide up by the census counts, and they figure out the apportionment of those 435 seats to go to the individual states as a part of the House of Representatives. Now, in 2020, we had a couple of things change. Like, for an example, Oregon gained a seat. Florida gained a seat. I think Texas gained one seat. Illinois and I think New York lost a seat. Don't quote me on that. I'm just giving you examples of what happens because of the changes in their population and the population in the states. Okay. And so what ended up happening here, what's basically happening here is that because there was a mistake made in the 2020 census, Texas is being requested to redistrict. Now, there's 4 districts in Texas that are on the docket. All 4 of them happen to be Democrat districts. And so what they're doing is the Democrats are getting frustrated with this because what's happening here, of course, is this with the loss of all of their illegal alien counts that are going on in many of these states like California and New York and so on and so forth. What they're doing is they're actually taking apart the backing for the Democrats. And so the Democrats are looking at a large possibility that in the 2030 census, they're going to end up losing seats, which is also why they would be arguing against the whole idea of having the count of non-citizens be required. This is also part of the reason why Trump is pushing for non-citizens to not be counted as a part of the census. Now, being that as the case, Trump does have a bit of a problem with that with regards to the fact that the Constitution does say that all persons will be counted as a part of the census. Doesn't necessarily define whether it's citizens or non-citizens alike, but it's all persons that will be counted. So that's the phraseology is going to cause the challenges, of course. But the thing here, though, that you need to understand mostly is the fact that they are looking to redistrict in several states. And this is Republicans in Texas have already started the redistricting, hoping to create enough change to capture as many as 5 new House seats without directly challenging Democrat incumbents. Now, Trump is looking for other red states to join in that same kind of effort. And so, that's kind of what's happening here. Well, the Democrats, of course, are starting to push back against this, and they're looking at it as an illegitimate manipulation of elections, which they don't care when they manipulate things in the gerrymandering process to create new districts for Democrats. I mean, seriously. And they plan on fighting these redistricting plans in court. Now, courts of today are much more inclined to let the actual legislatures figure this stuff out, at least to a larger degree than what years past have been. So that particular strategy might not work so well for the Democrats. The other thing, too, is that the Democrats have total control in fewer states. Now, that being said, most of those states are the more populous ones, like New York, California, Illinois, Massachusetts, and Maryland, mainly. In theory, they could put the squeeze to try and get more seats. But according to this piece in Hot Air that I'm getting this information, most of this information from, in practice, though, Democrats may have already beaten themselves. And the reason being is because most of the blue states forced the redistricting concept into the hands of supposedly nonpartisan commissions, which mean that the fight over redistricting may already be over before the Democrats can even join the field, according to the piece. Here's the quote from Punchbowl's Ali Mitnick, reminding readers about this. Democrats are desperate to push back against President Donald Trump's brazen attempt to shift the House map in the GOP's favor. Republicans are trying to muscle through new maps in Texas, Ohio, and Missouri, with more red states potentially on deck. But the two parties aren't on a level playing field. Over the years, blue states have repeatedly ceded their redistricting authority to commissions, while the red states haven't. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, that Democrats can't fight back in the states that they control, but it makes the process to redistrict vastly more complicated. For the most part, Republican governors just have to call their legislatures into special sessions and pass new maps. By comparisons, Democrats have to actually change their state constitutions. So the Democrats might have worked themselves into a corner here when it comes to these redistricting situations. So, yeah. Now, the only states without the obstacle of changing their state constitutions in blue are Maryland, Oregon, and Illinois. So California, Colorado, New Jersey, those would need changes to the state constitution, and that would, of course, have to go to the voters first. New York actually tried it in 2022 and got shot down in court over their absurdly gerrymandered map. So none of these efforts, of course, is going to be finished up in time to help out with 2026, with the possible exception of New Jersey, which has a regularly scheduled general election in this November. Now, to get an amendment on the ballot, though, in New Jersey, the legislature has to propose it at least 90 days ahead of that election for voters to review, and that deadline is coming up in less than 2 weeks. So Democrats might have thought that, hey, we're gonna stop the Republicans from doing all this gerrymandering and district changes. We're going to do this, and we're going to get it locked in play. They did, and now they're going to get stuck by it. So, yeah. Yep. So, the New York Times, of course, also calls this out and says basically that the Democrats have already gone as far as they can go in the states where they do have the opportunity to fight back. For an example, states where Democrats would have complete control over any redistricting, such as Illinois and Maryland, are already gerrymandered heavily in their favor. Trying to squeeze out more Democratic seats out of those states would be a bit of a challenge. So, yeah. This is going to be fun, to say the least. All right. Well, let's get down to brass tacks. So we all know that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, they've been kind of quiet up until, the recent dust up with the Epstein files and Pam Bondi and that kind of stuff. Well, Dan Bongino posted something on X that actually causes, and I'll be honest with you, it gives me a little bit of a pause. Let me go ahead and read it for you. I'll show it to you in the video side so you can see it. But I'm going to go ahead and read it for you so those on the audio portion of the program will understand what I'm talking about. He posts under his FBI Deputy Director account. It says, during my tenure here as the Deputy Director of the FBI, I have repeatedly relayed to you things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us. But what I have learned in the course of our properly predicated and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. He said, I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. He continues and says, we are going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We are going to get the answers we all deserve. As with any investigation, I cannot predict where it will land, but I can promise you an honest and dignified effort at the truth. Not my truth or your truth, but the truth. And he closes it with, God bless America and all those who defend her respectfully, Dan. Here's the problem. And honestly, this was one of my biggest fears, is that when you have somebody who is from the outside who steps into a role like this and is shown the image or the activities behind the curtain, whatever is being shown back there is either, okay, that's nothing, or is so disgusting and so abhorrent to the processes of our republic that it becomes just a complete shock to the individual. I'm going to be honest with you. Up until the whole Biden, Trump, Obama, Trump debacle that we saw over the course of the last 12 years, okay, has been to me a person who has held faith with America and her institutions for the most part. It was a bit of a wake-up call. It was a bit of a wake-up call, okay? And the idea that the Obama administration was able to get away with all of the things that they were. For an example, the whole idea of being able to legislate with a phone and a pen. That is antithetical to the whole concept of the Constitution. To sit there and even imagine that this man stood up in front of everybody and said, hey, I can control the government by just these two things, knowing that the Congress is the one that's in control of the government and that the president must enforce the laws that Congress creates, and also understanding that Congress has been slowly handing off its responsibilities, and even that's questionable as to whether or not they can do this, but slowly handing off their responsibilities to a massive bureaucracy that has been placed under the executive branch of government, which it never should have been. Up until the point that it was demonstrated that the saying power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely, was brought up into the public fold here recently, to have somebody like Dan Bongino to post something like this, to sit here and look at this and go, okay, he's basically saying he's never going to be the same. That he's gone into this with his eyes, he was shocked, amazed, disgusted. And yes, I put those words in. But he was shocked to his core, he says, at the amount of corruption and who knows what he's run across. But he's basically calling this out and saying in the one statement, we cannot run a republic like this, is entirely true. I mean, again, I point out to you, I'm one of those types of people that I am generally speaking a rule follower. I follow the rules. I do jobs. I do what I do within the guidelines that are being presented to me in terms of the legal guidelines. And when these kinds of things present themselves, such as the whole idea that the outgoing administration spied upon the incoming administration back in 2016, that you had a Secretary of State that basically allowed our people, our American people, to get killed in action in Benghazi by not picking up the freaking phone. And that this video, some video went ahead and started this whole thing. And then to sit here and say in front of everybody in Congress to basically claim that what difference at this point does it make, without feeling any sort of culpability for the actions that she took. The fact that we had an FBI that was fully investigating what is essentially a breach of security by having a private email server destroying 33,000 emails, bleach bidding the servers, and physically destroying evidence and electronic devices with hammers, in all attempts to avoid any type of criminal procedures, and then to have the director of the FBI, who everybody claims is supposed to be a nonpartisan outside of the executive branch agency, to stand up there and go, okay, basically there's nothing here. We're not going to even bother prosecuting her because no attorney general would ever prosecute this case. Now, Bonnie asks me a question here, and I'm going to go ahead and answer it really quick. So I mentioned bleaching the servers. What I'm talking about is using a program called BleachBit, and basically what it does is it wipes the electronic data off of the hard drives. It is BleachBit is the actual name of the software that was being used to destroy the data that's on those hard drives. There's a couple different ways that you can do it. The data on the hard drive, I mean, most of the time, whenever you go and delete something, so I'm just going to tell you guys this, from a data perspective, whenever you go and take something in Windows environment and dump it in the trash bin, or Linux environment, any of them, you go and you dump it in the trash bin. The only thing that you are actually doing is you are deleting the path to that particular file as a part of the memory of the OS to find that data. The data itself still exists on the hard drive. There are standards, okay? There are standards by which the federal government requires when you are turning over data processing devices to basically, there are standards in terms of what you are supposed to do before you can hand them over for any kind of recycling. And that basically is you pretty much destroy the things. One of the things that you can do in order to destroy that data is to overwrite the data with ones and zeros multiple times. And that's one of the ways what they call a DOD wipe, or a Department of Defense wipe, that is allowed. Okay. Another way of doing it, which this is physically destroying the drives by taking and drilling a drill through the drive, such that the platens, for those of you who may not know what a platen is, it's sort of like a record, okay, or a CD. And I know I'm even potentially even talking to somebody that doesn't even know what that is. But basically what a hard drive is it has multiple platens in it and heads on them, and they go and they write the data in conjunction with each other, such that if you misalign those platens or you do something to damage those platens, you'll never get the data back in alignment again to where it can be read. And so that's why you'll see, on special, what do you call it? Shows and stuff like that, televisions and shows that goes and, they show like somebody going and using like a drill with a drill bit, drilling through the hard drive. That's why they do that. And you can also turn them over to, companies and systems that will go and they'll like shred the electronics for you and that kind of stuff. But basically what she did is she essentially ran a software over in the hard drive. And back in the old days, I mean, you could degauss, you could use like a strong earth magnet and degauss the older drives. Nowadays, everything is in electronics and within circuit boards, so you can't really do that anymore. But basically, it's a format or a way to get rid of the data that's sitting on those drives. BleachBit just happens to be the name of the program. And of course, there's a lot of things nowadays that are even built to protect against that, such as BitLocker on Windows. BitLocker will actually detect whether or not something has changed on the disk that wasn't ordered by the OS, and it will actually lock the disk to prevent any further data issues down the road. So, a lot of corporations have that as well. And there's a lot of ways to that they're working on trying to block this kind of stuff. But anyway, I digress. But the point here that I'm trying to make, folks, is that we are living in such a time right now that I can't even believe to myself, my own mind, I can't even believe that we are living in such a time that we are even discussing any of this. That we are even discussing the opportunity or the fact that we have a former president, a former administration who literally created stuff to try and derail an incoming administration. And then they had the audacity, meaning the Democrat Party, had the audacity to talk about how when Trump left office after Biden got elected, that, oh my gosh, there was no peaceful transition of power. When just 4 years earlier, they had an entire administration that literally fought to keep a peaceful transition of power from happening because they all had the belief that Donald Trump was going to be this massive dictator only because of the fact that he did not want to follow what the Democrats had been working 40 plus years on trying to get to. The evidence has already been out there in the public sphere. I mean, any of this stuff is realistically, most of this is open. It's already been out there. I mean, Dan Bongino himself wrote 3 books on it. Spygate, Follow the Money, and Exonerated, about the corruption pieces. So to have him write 3 books with fact-checked, verified evidence on all of this stuff, to have him come out in a public forum and talk about the fact that he himself is shocked down to the core when he's already written 3 books on the subject and saying that he would never be the same after learning all the stuff that he has learned. You can just imagine how big the iceberg is sitting below the water that this guy has been given a glimpse of. You just got to sit and wonder what the hell else is underneath the surface. We talk about draining the swamp and how Trump tried to drain the swamp in his first term, and that he only drained the water far enough for us to see the monsters below. I'm starting to wonder how many more monsters and how big these monsters actually are. Our entire existence, our faith in our institutions, our faith in the institution of government, and that the government was going to be this benevolent, within the boundaries kind of protector, the entire values and principles that our founding fathers put forth to create this. The government that we are looking at today is exactly the government that our founding fathers were afraid of. This is the exact situation that they were attempting, through all of their ability, through all of their knowledge and understanding, attempted to try and avoid. And yet it still came to fruition today. To sit here and even remotely think that, again, and I'm kind of harping on this, I'll admit, but again, looking at Dan Bongino and knowing what he discovered, what he knew, and he was also an insider in the Secret Service. He left the Secret Service because of some of the stuff that he saw and couldn't deal with. And to have him go back into government and be that shaken has to make you wonder. That's sort of like when you have a person who has seen combat come out and say, you know what? Wow. I've seen combat before. And what I just saw was even worse than that. You sit here and you have to wonder, what in the hell? What is it that he saw that has gotten to him to the point that he may not have already known? I mean, I fully would have expected him to say, you know what? I wrote 3 books on this. Yeah, it pretty much what I said it was. And so, yeah, it's already in the public sphere. No, he's basically telling you right now he can't talk about it at the moment, but there's something worse than what he already knew about in the government right now, that he's seeing through the investigations that they are going through, that there is something bigger than the 3 books that he wrote, that there is something massively larger, enough to shake him. And, again, I don't know Dan Bongino personally. I really don't. All I know is what I've seen in the public sphere, what I've heard from other people who have talked about him. But all I am saying is that if this guy, who has, I would say, a little less fear than most, for a little less fear than most people have, because he literally has said on multiple occasions that he doesn't care in terms of his safety or anything like that, that he is focused and he is a principled individual, is the way that I would look at it. And for him to sit here and say that, oh my gosh, this is something that has shaken me all the way to the core, and he's already written books and already seen about the corruption. He talked about it on his podcast and everything else before he even got back into government. It really and truly makes me wonder, what the hell have we seen, or has he seen, that we are not seeing? And it's something like this that makes me sit here and say, I'm sorry, but as much as many people want to sit here and try and gloss over the idea, like, oh my gosh, Obama's not, he's got immunity. And let's be honest, him just doctoring paperwork, I mean, really, is that really all that bad? Obviously, there's something even more. There's something deeper that's going on in the government. There's something that he himself is basically saying that, hey, I'm just not going to be the same ever again after seeing this. Now, unfortunately, I am also going to be a little critical here. And the reason why I'm going to be critical is because of the fact that we have had, in terms of the Epstein files in particular, we had a long time of supposition, a long time of us sitting here and thinking, oh, you know, the Epstein files, oh my gosh, Epstein. Is Biden in the Epstein files? Is Obama in the Epstein files? Is all of these other people, are they part of the Epstein files? And then all of a sudden, the government comes out and says, yeah, guess what? There really isn't anything there. I'm going to be critical of this in saying that there is a possibility that there is an overselling component to this. That we may have a situation that, although Dan is basically saying in public, saying, yeah, this has rocked me to the core, I'll never be the same. This is possibly also an overselling of something. That there may be a possibility that we come down the road, hindsight is better than foresight, and we can go and take a look at this thing and go, you know what, that really wasn't all that big of a deal. It was something that we already kind of knew. We already understood it to be. And so as much as I want to sit here and say that I have 100% total faith in Dan Bongino in terms of his, you know, having written 3 books about it, you also need to understand that even our heroes can fall. And it is entirely possible until we see the evidence of what he is talking about. Until we see what it is that he is referring to, until this information that he has comes to light, we're going to sit here and be wondering and possibly, I mean, again, it could all of a sudden be, yeah. And even though we're sitting here and we're talking all about, you know, I spend a lot of time talking about Democrats. Again, keep in mind, Republicans are in the same general boat. You're sitting here and we talk about all of these things that are going on in the government. The fact of the matter is, the government itself, the corruption within the government itself, would have been called out a long time ago had it really been one party against another. That had it really been Republicans against Democrats, I guarantee you, and they weren't in on it either together or at least understanding that, hey, if you expose us, we'll expose you, kind of scenario. And that could be what he's referring to, is like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how many people are a part of this thing. Now, keep in mind, the one thing that we do have on a valid basis, the one thing that we do have on a valid basis is it's really, really odd that every single public servant that goes into Congress, either a senator or a House of Representatives member, they go in with their salary as a matter of public knowledge. And yet, for some damn reason, all of a sudden, they come out millionaires or billionaires. Look at Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, who is a devout, and I'm only picking on him because he happens to be a socialist. He's devout socialist. He's like, oh, socialism, work for the harder. He has 4 houses, folks. How can you afford 4 houses on a 6-figure salary? And the reason why we know that he has a 6-figure salary is a couple of reasons. One is that you can look at his salary. It is public information. You can find it. And also, too, keep in mind that nobody in Congress, the highest paid employee has to be the president. The president himself or herself is the highest paid ranking member in government. In fact, if you recall, back during the Clinton era, Congress had to actually raise Bill Clinton's his salary because of the fact that Teddy Kennedy was getting close to it. And they had to raise Bill Clinton's salary so that Teddy Kennedy could get another bump. See, all of these processes are running around in the Constitution, and the way that the Constitution is written. All of these things are there. It's all a matter of public record. And yet these people are able to go into Congress and walk out being multimillionaires is beyond me. It is completely beyond me to understand how these people can go into public service and be able to walk out multimillionaires. Obama became president for 8 years, virtual unknown, until he showed up and said, "Oh, I'm a community organizer. I'm a community organizer. That's my forte. That's what I do." And he goes into office for 8 years, and now he has a place on Martha's Vineyard, and he's the one single president in history that has stayed in D.C. You have Nancy Pelosi, who's spent her entire career in public service. She has never once held a private sector job, and yet she seems to have a better track record in day trading than just about anybody else. And you sit here and we call these things out, and we keep talking about, hey, this is evidence of corruption. This is evidence. This is what we can find. The public can find. Oh, and I guess I'm being told that Obama has a house in Hawaii as well. But I'm sitting here and I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, well, what the hell is it that Dan has seen? What is it that Dan has seen here? And he's right. I don't even know what he's seen. But I can tell you right now, he is correct. We cannot run a republic like this. We cannot run a republic that is consistently outside of the constitutional boundaries that our founders created. That we cannot sit here and run under the auspices and the ideas that the president actually has all of these wonderful powers that he does not have. That Congress can't seem to write a single law, but immediately hands over these laws, this generic law, and hands it over to a bureaucracy and says, oh, the bureaucracy will figure out all the details. That they sit there and positions that were not designed to be careers, that positions that were not designed to be full-time jobs are specifically that. They are not supposed to be full-time careers. In fact, the idea up until the modern world, the idea was that they would go off to Congress, do their public service, maybe serve a couple of terms, and then come home and go back to their normal jobs. They would do essentially what George Washington set out when he passed on being president a third time. That he basically said, no, it's time for me to move on. And again, this is the one downfall that I have of our founding fathers. They actually believed that man would do what was right. That man would actually have integrity, honesty, ethics, morals, standards. We've gone beyond that. We have gone way beyond that. And now, unfortunately, it is time for our laws to catch up with the disgrace that we have running in our government now. Whether it's Democrat, whether it's Republican, it doesn't make a difference. And this is why I am advocating for this whole idea of the concept of the Obama administration having perp walks and walk them into jail, put them in jail. I don't care whether it's under the Epstein files or whether it's under the Tulsi Gabbard released, intelligence assessment or anything else. These people, these oligarchs, for lack of a better term, need to understand that the American people are done with this. We have got to get rid of this thought process in our government that they can just go and, we can just go and do things. We're just going to go and do things. I mean, we had Eric Swalwell. Eric Swalwell, for God's sake. The man slept with a freaking Chinese spy. A known Chinese spy, and yet he is still in Congress. And yet he's sitting there and he's like, he shows himself in a pool and he's like, I should be working right now. He's bouncing in a pool. I should be working right now. Instead, the Republicans have let us go home on vacation. Trying to make it as though it's an own. What's an own, Eric, is the fact that you're even still in Congress. You slept with a freaking Chinese spy, a known spy. That your ass isn't in jail is the problem. What could you have told her? What is it that why did she pick you? She picked you because you were an easy mark. What the hell could you have told her that would have kept her coming around like she did? And we want to talk about things like how much money these people make. This whole idea of corporations being able to fund these accounts. We talk about Act Blue. We talk about, these corporations and these billionaires and millionaires who are able to fund things to the party and to the different parties. And it's not just the Democrat Party. It's not just the Republican Party. It's both parties. They both take advantage of these loopholes because, again, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And you don't sit there and think that these people are not able to sit there and be like, hey, you know what? Oh, you got this bill coming up, this bill that's going to affect my business. And so, you know what? I want your vote. So because I want your vote, I'm going to donate a couple million to your campaign, to your next reelection campaign. Because God forbid you actually get voted out, or God forbid you actually finish your public service and say, you know what, I'm done, I'm going home. See, this is part of the problem. It's the entire system that is corrupt. It's not just one person, it's not just one party, it's the entire freaking system. And Donald Trump, as much as I want to say the man himself, he recognized it. He recognized it, and everything that he is doing right now is irritating, honestly, both parties. He is irritating both parties. Now, he's savvy enough to know that, hey, I can't really irritate the GOP too much, because if I do, well... And keep in mind, I'm not saying that everybody in Congress is this way, but the vast majority are. They're all in on it. You get any one of these people who have been up there for a career term, and I guarantee you're going to be able to find the potential of them being selling out the American people. This is why understanding the Constitution, understanding our laws is so important, and that is part of the reason why the education system run by Democrats has nullified it. And this whole concept, they sit there and they talk about, oh, Ghislaine Maxwell, she's got 100 names on the list, and we have all this speculation of who's the 100 names that she's been spilling on. Folks, all of that really doesn't matter. What does matter is the fact that it's still at the end of all of the pomp and circumstance and everything else, it's still a corrupt government. I'm really hoping that Dan Bongino is able to back up what he is saying here in this post. that he is actually that he is basically saying, as of right now, we are conducting these investigations. We will hold these people accountable, and that we will get the answers we all deserve. I hope that eventually we will find out. This is going to go down in history as one of the most corrupt time periods of our nation's history. It started with Obama in terms of the public part of it. It started with Obama, got carried on over Biden, and hopefully we'll get another person in after Trump who can continue the work and can continue to expose the government, the federal government, for exactly what it is: a corrupt hive of villainy. All right. So just really quickly, I kind of skipped over a bunch of stuff, although I even talked about it. I've got a bunch of links in the show notes that honestly are tagged, but not going to be able to get to them because my extemporaneous and spontaneous rant sort of did all that. But I do want to point out a couple of things. First of all, a couple of polls have shown up, which is basically showing that the people's belief in the Democrat National Committee and that the party is actually doing anything has definitely dropped. It's the worst voter approval rating in over 35 years for the Democrats. Hopefully that continues and basically demolishes the Democrat Party. I really would like to see it. But also another poll that actually is positive for Donald Trump, because remember what I was saying with regards to Donald Trump, his immigration policies, that's right along lines with the 80-20 rule. Everybody is happy with that, regardless of what the leftists in the mainstream media all talk about, saying that he's losing polling points and stuff like that. His actual approval numbers are higher than they've ever been for him in terms of that. But the one thing that could tank his presidency right now is the U.S. economy. And one of the things that has occurred, of course, is that the doomsayers, all of the leftist doomsayers and the economists, experts who have all been telling us, oh, no, the things that he is doing is going to tank us. It's going to tank us. We haven't seen that yet. And so this bipartisan poll that came out from the Wall Street Journal, of all places, and it was conducted by a pollster called Tony Fabrizio and a Democrat partnership. And by the way, he's a Republican pollster, and a Democrat partnership firm, Impact Research. So this is a bipartisan poll. This poll has found that 47% of Americans now rate the economy as excellent or good. And that's up from just 36% this past April. Meanwhile, those that are saying the economy is not so good or poor dropped from 63% to 51%. So his polling numbers on the economy, which was the secondary piece to his entire administration and his promises, is actually starting to come to fruition. People are starting to realize and potentially realize that, hey, he's doing things that are unorthodox, that haven't really been done before, but they're not tanking us. We're doing okay. We're actually getting better. And the Democrat Party can't seem to fight against this because of the fact that he is doing things that are actually working, at least for the moment. At least for the moment. So, keep going. President Trump, keep going. Because you're doing the right things. People may not like him on a personal level. They may not like how he speaks, what he does. I mean, I don't think that if I were to ever meet him in person or in my personal life, I don't think he would be the guy that I would go and hang out at the bar with or anything else. He's got baggage. As I've said on this program, he's a mud monster. He's got baggage. But his policies and what he is looking forward with his policies that's what's right. That's what you get behind. Not the man, but the mission. All right, folks. That is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you follow, or search up, I should say, and follow the American Perspective channel to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, before you take off, hit those thumbs up or thumbs down across all of my platforms, whether it's YouTube, X, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you Monday night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your weekend, and good night, everybody.